Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the situation report or the summary for the day of 1290 or to 1291 for the 5th to the 6th of September. We're gonna mix things up a bit. We're gonna start from the south this time round. And in the south, the Russian Defense Ministry yesterday have reported an attack. A Ukrainian unmanned surface drone was destroyed by the Black Sea Fleet. So some kind of fighting in the Black Sea. Looks like the Ukrainians, maybe they are trying to test out the Russians, whether they are on the ball, or maybe they are trying to sneak just one in and see whether they can do some kind of damage in revenge for what happened over in along the river, in the Danube River, the Danube River, where one of the Ukrainian ships was destroyed by Russian surface drones. Over in the Kherson front or the Kherson front, there is only shelling reported at Antonivka. That's just to note the day before. So the day before, the Russians did the 1 week summary, so they don't have SITREP for that day. They only have it for yesterday. So that's all. Another thing to note is that all the latest frontline changes is in this mapping. But the main reporting we are talking about the past 2 days. So over the Zaporizhia front. So this is Zaporizhia, and at the Zaporizhia front, we have fighting reported at Stepnohursk. Malatomachka, there is fighting reported near in the west of Dnipropetrovsk, and there's shelling reported at Uspenivka in the northeast of Huaypole. So that's the main gist of the Zaporizhia front. It looks like the fighting in the Kayamsky sector has moved entirely over to Stepnohursk, because both Russian and Ukrainian Defense Ministry is mentioning about Stepnohursk. No more Plavny, no more Kanyamsky. So the Russians definitely have some kind of like a advanced position right now as they push into Stepnohursk right now. So that's the thing here. So in case you're wondering what's this, this is actually just me, adjusting the sensitivity of the mouse, because if the mouse is too fast, I can't draw the arrow properly. At the Orkiv sector, the Russians continue to push in the Novoporoska region. This time around, there is frontline change according to the Ukrainian mapping in the west of Novoporoska, as the Russians start to fight in Malatomachka again. So looks like this battle in this sector here is beginning again. Not sure how long it's going to last. Sorry, my tongue is lazy today. I want to say last, but I say laugh. Yeah. So yeah, not sure. No, the Russians tend to give up operations very quickly. So let's see. We move on to the Koma front. This is Koma. At the Koma front, we have fighting reported at Tamarivka, Novohiohievka, Komishuvacha, Ternove, Kalinivske, Vrone. This place is first time we mentioned it. This is called Koroshe, and Sosnivka. Koroshe is a very tiny village. I'll talk about it in a while, but the Russian Defense Ministry did announce the capture of it. Melievka, Shifneve, Voskresenka, Shevchenko, Alexandrograd, Novoselivka, Zeleny High, and Dashny. As you can see, the fighting is now entirely moving in this area here, mainly in the south. That seems to be the yellow arrow. You can see the general direction of the arrow movements, whereas the northern region here looks like this is just a standoff position where the Russians are now making the serious push into Dnipropetrovsk region. And some of the major updates include the Ukrainian mapping starting to corroborate some of the Russian claims in the area of Ternove, and then also the biggest and all this previously the frontline changes report, I mentioned this very weird attack. Now this has been expanded, and they still have not acknowledged largely the Shifneve location, and they rather draw some very unusual shapes in the Shifneve region, which don't make much sense. Shifneve must be under Russian control because the Russians already is at Novoselivka. But it's what it is. The breaking news, the big news is the Russian announcement of the capture of Kharove or Kharove. So the Ukrainian map. So the Russian announced the capture, and the Ukrainian mapping just nice also updated the map to show the Russians have actually entered into Sosnivka. So So not the Russians are attacking into Voronezh. They have gone through the gully or the river system into Sosnivka itself. By the look of it, Khoroshev must be under Russian control, and the Russians are now in Sosnivka. So this advance is pretty fast. We're talking about an advance of 2 kilometers based from the location of the Russian claims, which means that the Ukrainians have basically withdrawn beyond this position. Looks like the Ukrainians will have a new defense line. It's unclear where it's going to be. Not defending this area here, allowing the Russians to push through, is a problem because the Ukrainians do have a defense line in the south, as well as 2 major fortifications. The Russians could potentially attack from the rear, which will then take out this entire fortifications. So, but not sure where the Ukrainians going to lay the next line of defense after the fall, the alleged fall of the Donetsk region. And the Ukrainian Defense Ministry is still talking about Shevchenko, in their reports, as well as Melievka. So they're talking about places that is very deep and far away from the front line. So can't possibly be true right now. And of course, previously we have the mention about fighting at Pripyat, all gone now. There's no one's talking about it right now. We go on to the next front line, the Pokrov front. So this is the Pokrov without the evil rabbit. Fighting is reported at Muravka, Molodetsky, Udashny, Kotliny, Vivrove, Shevchenko, Novopalivka, Lipsivka, Sukia, Promin, Marolubivka, Minokhrad, Novoekonomichny, Rodinsky, and Pokrov. So that's the general strategic situation in the Pokrov front. And geolocation of Ukrainians are getting airstrike by the Russians continues to be noted. And there is another geolocation of Russian forces in Udashny. It doesn't change our front line, simply shows that they are there. So largely the strategic situation remains largely similar. Nothing much changed from this sector here. And we pull further up to the evil rabbit front, which is I don't have a good name. So it used to be called the Pokrov breakout zone on the North Pokrov front. So, but it's an evil rabbit, and the rabbit is starting to have antlers. You see, this is no longer a rabbit here. This is becoming antlers, and this is becoming a very freaky monster. Like it's very happy. So that's the scary thing about this front line. It looks like a very evil place for the Ukrainians. With fighting reported Novoekonomichny and Rudensky I already mentioned. Fighting is reported at Nikandorivka, Nove Shakhove, Mayat, Shakhove, Potavka, Rusinya. And then we have fighting reported at Rubizny. This is probably mentioned by the Ukrainians very reluctantly because there is geolocation of Russian forces basically capturing Rudinsky. So I think we're going to zoom in into this sector a bit more. So geolocation of Russian forces at Nikandorivka, that shows the Russians are there. Another one is south of Kusherivka, which also again shows the Russians are there. And then the geolocation of Rubizny basically confirms Russians' capture of Rubizny. And this capture is now confirmed. Now the worrisome thing for the Ukrainians is now the Russians may have an open route towards Dnipropetrovsk, which is the alleged short-term goal or short-term objective of the Russian forces, which is something that I do not expect previously. Because I never expected the breakout zone to happen per se. And so now with this breakout zone happening, if the Ukrainians cannot hold back the front line, an attack towards Dnipropetrovsk will bring massive chaos to the strategic situation for the Ukrainians, because they have they haven't even finished the appetizer, and then they're going to go for the dessert. It's just very greedy of the Russians. Anyway, this frontline change here, we are talking about a move of around 3 kilometers. So clearly Rubizny has been abandoned by the Ukrainian side. They have not found probably a good way to defend this place. But of course, this could also be a move that has been days in the working, so it may not necessarily be a very fast advance. Nobody know what the hell is happening. So let's wait and see how this goes. And again, I also saw comments in the comments saying, no, they follow some other Russian sources or whatnot. I don't know. I'm not sure. They keep claiming that no, DPA reporting, no, the frontline changes is like 2 weeks late, 1 to 2 weeks late. I just want to address this. I don't map speculations. I only map based on my trusted sources. So I have tried before. It's not that I didn't. No, I did. I map in DivGen. Sometimes I used to map Surya Maps. Surya Maps not too bad. No, but DivGen is like, and other sources where I have to backtrack a lot, and I don't like the backtrack. I map, then I have to backtrack. And then cut. The changes. It's like it just confuses everybody. So I follow my trusted sources. I followed the war for 3 years. I over time I know whose words are trustworthy. So that's what I do. So I mean, if you feel like it's too slow, you want more hopiums, then just follow any pro-Russian source. They'll give you a lot of hopiums. Over here I only give pain and suffering. Only people who love to suffer watches DPA. So anyway, in the south of Konstantinivka at the Torex front, fighting is reported at Yablunivka, Skimenivka, Katerinivka, Pleshievka, and Bilahora. And I have to say this front line is getting stale. All this reporting, Skimenivka is mentioned by the Ukrainians, Katerinivka by the Ukrainians, Pleshievka, Ukrainians, Bilahora, Ukrainians. Only Yablunivka is mentioned by the Russians. Literally, the Russian Defense Ministry don't even bother talking about this entire sector. To the Russians, for the past 2 days, nothing is happening over here. So this is quite a massive difference in terms of this parallel universe. This like differences in opinion as to what's happening in the Torex front. To the Russians, this entire sector seems to be really secured. They have announced the capture of Torex, at least by Ryba, Skimenivka, Novospassky, Katerinivka, Krbambik, Plichievka, Alexander Shutiny, Bilahora, Dilievka. Everything here, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, is already captured. So they have nothing to really talk about in this sector because everything's already captured. Like even Skimenivka is already mentioned to be captured since the 14th of August. All of this is captured. And it's the Ukrainians are still talking about the fighting at Torex. And the front line, we still don't have enough geolocations or mapping to reflect the front line here. But you can see this every single town here, with the exception of one, which is the Dnipropetrovsk. Sorry, Dnipropetrovsk is also announced captured. So yeah, that means this is not Pleshievka. So Pleshievka is still being fought over, but there is nothing. But Dnipropetrovsk is captured. So but same, they are all linked. So the entire area is just captured by the Russian forces, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. So there's nothing to report. Yeah, so that's the situation that you should know about. We go to the Bakhmut front. Bakhmut city, Konstantinivka, and Kramatorsk. And over in Bakhmut, fighting is reported as Tupochki, Varolubivka, and Bodarny. That's all. And if you watch to this point and I just want to ask, did you found DPA through the shots? I did some shots. I'm not sure if it works. Yeah, but it is what it is. So if you comment below if you actually found DPA through the shots, I just want to know whether it works or not. So Liman front, Liman Siversk. So this is Liman Siversk front. The operations in this sector, the offensive continues. Fighting is reported at Torske, Dibrova, Serbiansky Forestry, Dronivka, Krychorevka, Serbianka, Siversk, Vimka, Berezne, and Fedorivka. And according to the Ukrainian mapping, the Russian forces have made some consolidation positions inside of Serbiansky Forestry along the river. So the Russians are still making progress, but along the Siversk front, things is a bit quiet. We don't have it's still in the fog of war. We do not know what's happening. Maybe it's skirmishes. Maybe the Ukrainians are doing very good defense. We don't know. So I wouldn't assume to know. So you can see the front line here. Is basically the Russians going along the river, basically according to the Ukrainian side, and except for this part, the Russians are still on the verge of heading to the various lakes in the south of the Dnipropetrovsk forestry. So let's see how long this is gonna take. But yeah, further Russian advances in this sector. We go on to the Oskil-Liman front. So this is Oskil, and now over the Oskil-Liman front, we have fighting reported over in Horakivka, Druzhilivka, Ohievka, Andrievka, Novomikhailivka, Rikurub, Kapivka, Shangri-Holove, Drobisheve, Darilove, Koloziazi, as well as Zarishny. So you can see the fighting is very heavy on the northern side, whereas there is this more serious push moving in the Seversky Donetsk River direction, and the front line change here is pretty big, pretty important. Over in this Novoselivka, Darilove region, geolocation of Russian forces confirm that the Russians have advanced in this sector. I have drawn this mapping in a more conservative way. There's a high chance that the entire area in the Sandri-Holove region may have collapsed, but I have to map it in a more conservative way, because if not, then we're going to have a wrong analysis, because we cannot be too bullish about the Russian advances. So geolocation of Russian forces here, this is just Russian troops, that's all. And Russian mapping maps it like this. So previously, so for the Russians to actually capture this area here in this way is logical. I mean, this is not impossible for this to be the reality. Just that, like I said, I'm trying to be conservative, particularly with the Ukrainians still claiming the mapping into the northeast of Shandri-Holove. So yeah, so we have this weird appendage here. So we move on. Nothing else particularly special in the Oskil-Liman front. Pretty routine. We go on to the Borova front. At the Borova front, continue to be pretty sleepy. Fighting is reported at Kolesnikivka, Zenkove, Nova Krylyakivka, and Novoplatonivka. Of these, yeah, I don't think need to care too much for now. Geolocation of a helicopter guided missile strike was noted at Zenkove. So and we move on to the Kupiansk front. So at the Kupiansk front, as mentioned just now, there is Kolesnikivka, and then there is some frontline change over in Tobaivka according to the Ukrainian mapping. So some advance in this south of Stepova Novoselivka. There is fighting in the Kupiansk region at Petropavlivka, at Kupiansk, Radkivka, as well as Blahodativka. And geolocation of Russian forces inside of Kupiansk, noting some further advance by the Russian forces in Kupiansk. So we're going to zoom in a bit. So this shelling, by the way, at Blahodativka, I mean, the Russians potentially is possible to reach Blahodativka if we confirm that, if we can believe that the Russians have captured Sobolivka. Just that I try to be a bit more conservative. I put this as shelling. And in the north of Kupiansk, Russian forces advance a little bit more in the North Kupiansk region. So there is all this high-rise zone that is not taken yet. So let's see how this play out. Whether this going to be fast collapse of Kupiansk, or this is going to be a hard battle. Hard to say. Like I did mention, I would have preferred that the Russians just flank around and blow up the rear positions into this kind of situation, so that force the Ukrainians into withdrawal. I wouldn't want to fight inside the city, but that's me. What do I know? And so we move on to the Voreshna front. In the so this Voreshna, at the Voreshna front, we have fighting mainly over in this sector at Kanyamka and Krasny Pershi. So fighting is reported at Kanyamka, at Krasny Pershi, as well as Novovasilivka. And Ukrainian mapping have updated the map to show the Russians have advanced and captured the entire forest in the northwest of Krasny Pershi. So is this forest here? These two forests, it looks like algae. It looks like algae from this perspective. Yeah, these few forests. Who teach you English, man? Yeah, these few forests are now taken by the Russians, and now they're gonna filter into this area. There is a road, I believe. Yeah, this looks like cars. Yeah, this looks like army trucks. So anyway, the Russians will now be able to penetrate through this forest and enter into Novovasilivka. So let's see, what the hell is this? No idea. Mining, a lot of trucks. Yeah, not sure. Anyway, yeah, it is what it is. No, yeah, it's Ukraine, no. And in the Milove region, Ambarne is mentioned by the Ukrainians on yesterday. So some fighting in this sector here, but this is pretty much just mosquito zone, not coma, but it's just there to be irritating to the Ukrainians. I don't see it as a threat anymore for now. It's just a buffer, and then or diversionary. We move on to the Kharkiv front. Kharkiv, and at the Kharkiv front, it wishes you a happy birthday if your birthday today, and the fighting is reported only at Voschansk. That's all. Nothing new. The entire stretchy operations along the front line looks like it has not been reported for now. There is, however, a armored vehicle at Okip was hit by the Russian forces. This very close to the river. So yeah, it does do. The important thing to note for this hit of the armored vehicle is that the Ukrainians actually still hold positions along the border at this region here at Woody. So that is the bright side, if you are pro-Ukrainian. We move on to the last front line, the Sumy front. So this is Sumy city. At the Sumy front, the situation here also getting a bit quieter. As you can see, there's nothing being reported over on this side. Everything is coming towards the eastern side of the front line. If we zoom in, we can see that fighting is reported at Mariupol, Mauritius, Marine, and the Russian forces fighting at Yunakivka, securing more of Yunakivka, according to Ukrainian mapping, and are basically on the verge of full capture of Yunakivka. So, and yeah, things. This area here is indeed not operating as a buffer zone right now. There is nothing much. I don't think there is going to be an active offensive big arrow movements into this area here, because it's just going to be very unnecessary for the Russians, particularly for now at this moment. I'm not talking about eventually. I'm talking about for now. The Russians are willing to swap land to in exchange for Donetsk Oblast. So Sumy region, Kharkiv region, or these two front line is going to be part of the swap, I believe. And so whether the Ukrainians will accept is another story altogether. But given the fact that these are all swap lands, I don't think the Russians are going to take too much risk to capture massive amount of grounds for now in these sectors. And over in this non-frontline region, there is a geolocation of a missile strike on an alleged UAV launch site at Chernihiv. So apparently this is a place. This looks pretty airstrippy to me. It looks like a perfect place for airstripping. Airstripping. No, you don't strip in the air. No, that's not airstripping. No, this airstrip is just where the aeroplanes strip itself. So this is where they strip itself, and then the missile strike hit them, because this is a PG channel. So they say no stripping here. So that's it. That's all for the summary for the day of 1290 to 1291 for the 5th to 6th of September. So thank you for watching. This is the DPA War channel. So subscribe. I push the SITREP back to the War channel. It's gonna have lesser views because the algorithm is very biased towards the size of channels, not about the quality of the reporting or the video. So, and I just checked, like, other channels are struggling. The ones that are smaller than DPA are struggling really badly. So yeah, that's the reality. Like I saw 30 mappings numbers and some other smaller channels is very depressing. And DPA here, we are only getting like a living wage kind of salary or revenue through DPA's stuff through YouTube and Patreon is too little because it's not enough. Yeah, it's because I'm living wage. I'm talking about like lower level of living wage in Singapore, so it's not It's not ideal. So, but I have to expand the and keep DPA war going because I have so much more things I actually want to talk about. But yeah, I didn't manage to do too much reporting because I'm feeling rather down. Yeah, so I'll do my best. Anyway, later it's going to be DPA open mic, so hopefully I will cheer up. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next update.